Recently, Satya Nadella made a statement on the Dwesh Patel podcast that sparked quite a bit of discussion in the tech community. His thoughts on artificial general intelligence, AGI, challenge the traditional perspective and offer a fresh way of thinking about its definition. In this video, we'll break down exactly what he said, how it differs from conventional views, and how the industry is reacting to his perspective. Let's start by looking at a key clip where Nadella makes a bold claim. He suggests that the current definition of AGI is fundamentally flawed and constantly evolving in practice.
One thing I'm not sure about hearing your answers on different questions is whether you think AGI is a thing, in the sense of like, will there be a thing which automates all, at least like starting with all cognitive labor, like anything that anybody can do on a computer?
Don't conflate knowledge worker with knowledge work. The knowledge work of today could probably be automated. Who said my life's goal is to triage my email, right? Let an AI agent triage my email. But after having triaged my email, give me a higher level cognitive labor task of, hey, these are the 3 drafts I really want you to review. Like, that's a different abstraction.
In case you missed it, what Satya Nadella was essentially saying is that the AGI benchmark doesn't quite hold up under scrutiny. He argues that the current approach doesn't make much sense. One of the critical points he raises is the concept of cognitive labor, which he explains is far from being static. Cognitive labor, as he describes it, is something that is constantly evolving. The tasks we consider cognitive labor today may look completely different tomorrow. This dynamic nature of cognitive work means we need to reassess what kinds of tasks need automation. He goes on to suggest that if AGI's role is to automate all tasks, the landscape of work and automation itself will constantly change. As a result, the very definition of AGI must also be in flux, adapting to those changes. This is a crucial point that Nadella emphasizes. AGI is inherently a vague concept, and its meaning shifts depending on who's defining it. Notably, Sam Altman has a perspective on AGI that's quite similar to Nadella's. Both view AGI not just as an intelligence tool, but as something that must deliver real-world value.
I think at this point, we're kind of close enough that the precise definition of AGI matters. You know, by the time you have a world expert in every field working together tirelessly, I think that's beyond what most people would consider AGI. So I think rather than talk about, you know, when we're going to get there or whatever, sorry, that was really inarticulate. I would say, I think we'll get to something in the next couple of years that many people will look at and say, I really didn't think a computer was going to do that.
But Nadella wasn't finished yet. He also shared his unique take on the definition of AGI. According to him, if we truly want to define AGI, it shouldn't just be about intelligence or automation. It should be about real-world impact. Nadella suggests that we'll know we've truly created AGI when we see sustained economic growth, specifically 10% year-over-year growth. This is the point at which he believes we'll have a clear indicator that AGI is genuinely delivering value. Why this focus on economic growth? According to Nadella, many AI companies are obsessed with benchmark hacking, showing off their models in ways that may look impressive but don't necessarily translate to practical value. The issue, he points out, is that companies often overlook the real-world application of their models, how they can bring value to actual customers and businesses. For Nadella, the true measure of success isn't simply a model that automates tasks, but a model that can drive tangible growth. And that's why, for him, economic growth is a far more meaningful metric than any vague benchmark or definition of AGI.
Us self-claiming some AGI milestone, that's just nonsensical benchmark hacking to me. The real benchmark is the world growing.
Right.
At 10%.
The world economy is 100 trillion or something. If the world grew at 10%, that's like extra 10 trillion in value produced every single year. If that is the case, it seems like 80 billion is a lot of money. Shouldn't you be doing like 800 billion? If you really think in a couple of years we could be really growing the world economy at this rate, and the key bottleneck would be, do you have the compute necessary to deploy these AIs to do all this work?
The classic supply side is, oh, let me build it and they'll come, right? I mean, that's an argument. And, you know, after all, we've done that. We've taken enough risk to go do it. But at some point, the supply and demand have to map. You know, you can go off rails completely when you're like all hyping yourself with all the supply side versus really understanding how to translate that into real value to customers. And you're not going to say, oh, they have to symmetrically meet at any given point in time, but you need to have existence proof that you are able to parlay yesterday's, let's call it, capital into today's demand so that then you can again invest, maybe exponentially even, knowing that you're not going to be completely rate mismatched.
Nadella also addressed another important aspect of the current AI landscape: the massive investments companies are making in AI infrastructure. He acknowledges that, yes, spending on infrastructure is essential, but he also raises a valid concern: are we overspending? He argues that while it's crucial to build the necessary infrastructure, there's a real risk of overinvestment. Companies need to ensure that the AI systems they're developing will actually provide value for tomorrow's customers. The concern here is that we might be in a situation where companies have poured money into AI, but there won't be enough demand or practical application to justify the spending. For Nadella, it makes sense for companies to continue investing in AI infrastructure, especially given the potential impact of AGI. However, he points out that it will be interesting to see how these investments play out in the future, and whether the demand for AI will match the scale of investment being made today.
I wonder if there's a contradiction in these two different viewpoints, because, look, I mean, one of the things you've done wonderfully is you make these early bets when there's you invested in OpenAI in 2019, even before there was Copilot and any applications. If you look at the Industrial Revolution, these 10% build outs of railways and whatever things, many of those were not like, we've got revenue from the tickets and now we're gonna
There's a lot of money lost.
That's true. So if you really think like there's some potential here to 10x or 5x the growth rate of the world, shouldn't you just like let's go crazy, let's do the hundreds of billions of dollars of compute?
It's not about building compute. It's about building compute that can actually help me not only train the next big model, but also serve the next big model. And you understand, until you do those two things, you're not going to be able to really be in a position to take advantage of even your investment. So you have to have a complete thought, not just one thing that you're thinking about.